gone. But I'm back now. So yeah, besides all that, let's just jump straight into it. And yeah, so this is part three to What If Naruto was the reincarnation of Beerus and Goku Black. So yeah, so where we left off is when Minma stepped up to Akron, Acnologia's younger brother, character I made up. Um, he stepped up to Akron, and he's ready to fight, and Naruto says this is going to be interesting. So Kushina tells Minma to stop, but Minma is not taking that, and he tries to kick Akron, but Akron catches his feet and slams him through the house. Now, Acnologia, Naruto, and Freya, they fly up into the air because they know what's about to happen, because Akron has a bad attitude and his eyes glow red. I'm gonna get a picture of Akron. Akron's eyes glow red, and he yells out, this dragging destruction beam, and just a giant beam come out of his mouth, and it evaporates the lake. And then he tells Minma, taunting him, you can't do that, you're weak. Minma gets back up angry, and he decides to, use some of the tailed beast power. And now, Kushina's thinking Akron's strong, but he can't handle that. So Minma's rushing towards him, and Kushina's about to help, but Akron just speed blitzes him and stumps on his stomach and says, pathetic, and he's about to shoot a beam, a destruction beam out of his mouth towards him. And that's when Naruto appears and says, that's enough, Akron. And Akron says, but at the time Naruto says, that's enough, we can't kill him. And Akron scoffs and he takes his foot off of him and he says, fine. And so Acnologia is the one that stopped him. Acnologia tells him that's enough, he can't kill him. Naruto and Freya's just in the air looking down. Naruto has his arms crossed, just looking down. And Freya is reading her book. She's not worried about it. And then that's when Acnologia says that's enough. And he flies into the air. And Itachi's thinking like, that kid has serious anger issues. And Kushina's surprised. So is Mito and Sasuke. Because out of those three, Minma is the strongest out of those three. So for him to take Akron to take him down quickly, so Sasuke wants to fight Akron now. He's thinking of him as a rival and everything. And so Akron is just looking down. And he flies in the air and he's looking down at them and he scoffs and says, I'm leaving. And he heads to the forest. Acnologia goes there with him, and then Naruto and them, they follow right behind. And Akron says, why don't we just kill them? And Naruto says, because it wouldn't be any fun to kill them now. And he says, fine. He says, but that Uchiha kid, it seemed like he was letting off bloodlust towards me. And Naruto says, yeah, I felt it too. But that's when they met, I was about to say Conan, not Moshiki, Lord. Whew, I cannot, I'm trying to wrap my head around who I'm trying to say. Hold on, let me find out their name. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. As soon as I paused it, I remember it was Conan. I mean, not Conan. Oh my god. Now when I come back, I forget. Haku. And Haku's wandering in the forest at the wrong time, and she walks, and she just sees these four people standing there. Acnologia is the tallest. Yeah, he's the tallest. And then there's, he's the tallest and most buff. Um, Acheron is the size of Zeldris. Yeah, he's Zeldris size. Um, Freya and Naruto are the same height. They're like 5'9", 5'10". And Freya, she knows, like, no, Acnologia can sniff. He smells and he says, why do you smell like a male? And Freya says she senses it too. That is no female. She whispers to Naruto, and Naruto says, I can feel it as well. And Haku, he pulling the Simbon out of the basket and start throwing them. And Acnologia steps in front of Naruto and them, blocking it. And they say, and Acnologia says, I want to fight him, and then no. And then Freya says, I got it. And Acnologia says, but I wanted to do it, and she's staring at him. And Freya, she doesn't take out her blade actually. She looking, says, are you ready? And Haku says, fine. And then start throwing Senbon. Freya's just dodging them. And then Freya appears behind her with the sword to her throat. And then that's when Naruto appears in front of Haku, because Haku's not a her, it's a he. Appears in front of Haku and looking into his eyes. And that's when Acheron and Acnologia appears, and they're like, how, so you're with that, and Acnologia is trying to remember the guy Sasuke and them we're talking about. What was his name? Zabuza guy, right? And Haku says, how do you know that you weren't with the other ninjas that we saw last time? And Naruto said, don't worry about it. We're their backup. Now you go to Zabuza and you tell them how backup has arrived. And they just all disappear. Now, that's when Acnologia and them goes back to the bridge builder and his daughter's house, because I realized I called her his wife in the last one, but his daughter's house. And they were all sitting inside, and Zabuza, not Zabuza. Oh yeah. Zabuza and Haku are talking, and Haku tells them about it. He says their backup is that strong that they moved where you couldn't see them. She says, yes, they moved as soon as I blinked. Oh, he says, yes, they moved as soon as I blinked. And Zabuza started thinking, like, this is going to be interesting, so he starts to train more. And Kakashi's been inside of the village just lounging around so long. He's out of the Umbo, so he's not as strong as Zabuza. Zabuza is now an S-rank missing nin. So Zabuza wasn't really hurt in that encounter. He got like a few bruises and scratches from Kushina and Kakashi ganging up on him, but like, if he had to take on one of them one-on-one, he would demolish them. And so Naruto and they were sitting, and then that's when the bridge builder's grandson starts talking, all of that. And this Naruto, no one doesn't say anything. Naruto gets up and leaves. So does Freya and Akron. And Aknologia looks back and says, and he scoffs and he says, "You don't know the half of it, kid." And yeah, Freya built a house in the forest so they don't have to live there with him. With her creation key, she can create mostly anything. It's limited to her imagination, basically. But since she can't really use destruction key as profound, she can use it, but like she can't use it as profound as Aknologia or Naruto. Akron doesn't use destruction key because he can't master it yet. He can use negative key, which is pretty powerful on its own. He's in the negative key profound. He's the most skilled out of them, except for Naruto. But and he used positive keys sometimes. But he's mostly a negative key. He feeds off of people, fear and strife and anger or whatever. Mostly fear. He feeds off of it. And he also got his dragon form. So yeah. And they wake up the next morning. Acnologia said he goes to wake up Naruto. And he says, "Naruto, we're late. Freya and Akron are already gone." And Naruto says, "Why didn't she wake me up?" And he knows she did it on purpose because she do this all the time to him. And they get dressed and leave. I'm gonna say Naruto's not wearing this. He's wearing, I don't know. Let's say he's wearing a black shirt, a black cloak with black ninja pants, black ninja shoes, and on like his waist he has like a Shinigami mask, like a black Shinigami mask, and on his leg he has his ninja pouch. No, he doesn't even have a ninja pouch. He doesn't even feel the need for it. And in his storage space he has a sword, a black katana, like Tanjiro's. Yeah, it's exactly like Tanjiro's. And so Naruto and them are rushing to the bridge. And when they get there, they see Freya just standing there. And so is Akron. They're not doing anything because they see Kakashi and them being beat. And Naruto appears by Freya and he pulls her cheek saying, "Why didn't you wake me up? I slept." And she does like that chubby type anime face saying she didn't want to wake him up out of his deep sleep. And he gets mad at her saying, "Look what you made me miss." And she says, "You really didn't miss anything. It's starting to get to the good part." And he says, "Oh, never mind." Logie says the same thing to Akron. He says, "Hey, brat, why didn't you wake me up?" And that's when Akron says, he says, the same. "I didn't want to wake you up out of your deep sleep." And Aknologia scoffs. And he says, "Good point." And he says, "So what's going on?" He says, "Well, they are all going at it." He says, "Where is Itachi?" He says Itachi is helping out Kushina and Kakashi with Zabuza. And Aknologia says, "So how strong is Zabuza?" He says Zabuza is a great fighter with that big blade of his. And Acnologia says, cool. And Akron says, I kind of want that blade. It looks interesting, and since I'm a sword expert, but there's really no sword for me to use. And Naruto says, why don't you go take it then? He says, because they're all in my way. And Naruto says, watch this. Naruto appears where Zabuza is, and he kicks him away. And he tells Kakashi, Kushina, and Itachi that they're gonna take it from here. And then the ice mirrors, that's when Freya, she walks to the ice mirror. So does Acnologia, standing behind her. And Acnologia breaks it for her. And they walk in. You know, from Akame Kill, basically how when Akagame jumped down from the string, that's, and what's his name was standing behind her, that's basically how this scene is. And he breaks it for her, and they walk in. And so Haku's thinking like she can finally repay her. Acnologia, Freya opens a portal, gets Sasuke and Minma out of there. Sorry guys, hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back guys, sorry. And just Acnologia, and she opens a portal, gets them out of there. And Acnologia, he's thinking like, this is boring. And he, since he got all his memories back, flashback, he knows that he's what they call a dragon slayer. And I already told you guys, he got his dragon form back. And in his dragon form, his abilities is amplified, actually. It's beyond amplified. Like, he's on high universal to mid multiversal. No, he's on high universal to low multiversal. And Naruto is mid multiversal to just mid multiversal. Yeah. And Freya, she's like on the same level as Acnologia, and Acheron is to low universal. Yeah, he's low universal. But in his dragon form, he's mid universal. So but in that time, he remembers that he's a dragon slayer, and he actually stole the dragon arts of other dragon slayers. So like Natsu and them. So he stole fire dragon, a little bit of the fire dragon and lightning dragon and poison dragon, all of those. He stole that abilities, and he uses like Natsu's fire, and Natsu burnt an entire lake. Well, he evaporated an entire lake. So he just lets off some flames, melting all of the mirrors. And he smiles. He gives this menacing smile, and he grabs Freya. Freya grabs Haku. No, she speed blitzes Haku and cuts off her head. His head, really. And Zabuza sees this, and he gets enraged, and he starts swinging his blade more. And Acheron and Naruto are standing there, and Acheron says he got it because he really wants that blade. So he speed blitzes Zabuza, punching him in the stomach, and he stomps on his chest, saying, "Pathetic! I thought you would be stronger." And he lets out a destroyer dragon roar, and he just demolishes Zabuza. I don't know what you guys are thinking. If you're mad about that, like, he's like below universal. Like, what do you expect? He demolishes Zabuza with that dragon where he just evaporated his entire head, or it was just gone. And Zabuza's body dropped, and he picks up the blade, and he's like, awesome, and he starts swinging it, and he's like, it kind of needs something, and he puts the negative key he has in it, and now the blade has a consciousness of its own. It feeds off of negativity, and it, instead of like when it takes its own blood, it heals or whatever, or takes blood, it heals. No, when it takes blood, it gets stronger and bigger. So yeah. And he puts it on his back and he says, awesome. And he walks back. I gotta get a picture. He walks back with Acnologia and Freya. And Naruto says, well, we're done. And that's when that's when, what's the name, and his men come. And Acnologia says he got it. He really didn't get anything from that Haku kid. And he's like moves so fast. Basically, he moved like he was teleporting. Without just speed, and he ends up on the other side of Gato and his men, and all their heads drop, their bodies drop with their heads rolling. And the bridge builder is thanking them, all of them. And they're like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And Freya says, and Naruto tells Freya, could she fix the bridge so they could go. And she does. She swipes her hand over the bridge, and the entire bridge is just built. And they thank her once again, and they name it the Great Freya Bridge, because they're gonna name it after Freya, since she's the one that really built it. They name it the Great Freya Bridge. But now all four of them made a name for themselves. They are known as the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse in the Bingo Book. Or Naruto is known as Death. Freya is known as the Goddess of Death. Acnologia is named the Dragon of the Apocalypse, and Acheron is named the Black Dragon of Destruction. That's their separate nicknames. Or Naruto has like two. It's the Black Shinigami because of his mask, his Black Shinigami mask, or Death, basically. So yeah. Because after what the bridge builder told many people, they were put in the bingo book. And so they head back to the village. When they get back, Minmon, Mito, and Sasuke are put in. Tsunade's healing them because of their injuries and everything. Kushina, Itachi, and Kakashi reports what happened to Minato. And yeah. And then Itachi appears to where Freya and them are. And Freya and Naruto and them are talking. Acnologia is mad because he's still single. And so is Akron. I don't know, guys. Do you want me to give him someone to date? 1, 2. Yeah. And then that's when Itachi appears, and he says, I have some news to tell you guys. And he sees Aknologi and them kind of crying on the ground. And he asks what happened. And Naruto says, I don't know, something about them still being single. And he says, and Itachi says, I feel you guys. And then Naruto says, you have a girlfriend? And that's when Itachi says, I do, but I was just trying to make them feel better. And Naruto says, oh, my bad. And this makes Akron and them even more sad. They say even Itachi sensei have a girlfriend. And Itachi is kind of surprised that they called him sensei, but he glosses over it. And then that's when Naruto says, so what is it, Itachi? And Itachi says, well, I have some news to tell you guys. That U4 has been signed up for the tuning exams. Everyone has to come in a team of 4. Yeah, I kind of changed it. It's not a team of 3, it's a team of 4. So, like, yeah. And he says, alright, fine. And he says, we'll do it. And Akalogi says, well, there'll be strong people there. And, what's the name says, yeah, most likely. But you guys have to sign up. So they all signed up. And the tuning exams from first round started in 2 days. So let's do a time skip of 2 days. And yeah, the 2 days came up. And then that's when Naruto and them showed up. They were walking towards the building that they had to go to for the tuning exam. Just like Naruto and Sasuke and Sakura did in the original, they were going to that building. And when they walked in, they see Rock Lee and them. And Rock Lee says he heard that Acnologia was strong and he wanted to fight him. And Acnologia says, he said he heard that Acheron was strong. He wants to fight him. Acheron said he would love to. And that's when Lee said, are you ready? And he's moving fast with Acheron. Acheron says, this kid is intriguing. He says, this guy is intriguing. And they're going in a taijutsu battle. And Acheron punches Lee. And Lee says, oh, that kind of hurts. But no matter. And he was unwrapping his bandages. But then a turtle appeared saying, Lee, what are you doing? Lee says, sorry, Guy Sensei. And then that's when Guy appeared or whatever. And they had the same speech at first. Blah, blah, blah. And so they were all confused, but they continued. And Sasuke saw this, and he was upset. He did not like Acheron. He wanted to fight him. But they continued, and Naruto and them walked towards the Genjutsu. And Aknologi is like, what is this, some type of illusion? Naruto says, nah, it's that thing I told you about. That Itachi Sensei uses Genjutsu. He says all that pathetic stuff. Naruto says, just let's go. And that's when Aknologia puts out his hand, and he just grabs the Genjutsu literally and just scratches it open. And they walk through, and he tells the Chunin that put it up, he says, pathetic. And he keeps walking behind them. And they opened the door, Naruto and then walked in. And then when Freya walked in, all the guys, their hearts started pounding. And the girls on their team were jealous. And then the girls kind of liked Naruto because he was hot. And then that's when um Akron walked in. The girls kind of thought he was hot too, and then Aknologia walked in. They thought he was hot too, but they thought he was kind of scary as well. And the guys were kind of scared of him because of how big he was. And Naruto was standing there quietly. They're just standing there, and I hear Sasuke and them talking to Kabuto, and he's telling them he has information on everyone here, and they all have supreme hearing. And that's when he says, and that's when Minma and Sasuke says, we want information on them, pointing at Naruto and them. And he said, and Sasuke says, I mainly want information on that Akron kid. And Minima says, I want information on Naruto. And that's when he says, we also want information on that girl and them too. They kind of want to take Freya away from Naruto and them, or from Naruto, because they think she's cute. Minma wants to date her. Sasuke does too. They think they could share her. So that's when Naruto and them hear this, and everyone just witnessed them disappear in front of their eyes. And Naruto takes the cards out of Kabuto's hand with Freya. Freya, Aknologia, and Akron just standing around Kabuto. And Naruto takes the cards and he says, I would love to see what you have on us. And he reads it, and he was thinking, well, you got a pretty decent amount. And he says, destroy key. Well, he doesn't say anything, and then just destroy key appears in his hand, and he wipes them from existence. And he says, now you see it. He says, now you see it, and now you don't. And the cards just basically evaporate. Like when beerus destroy something, that's basically how they were. And Naruto is walking away with Ray and them, and the instructor comes in. He says, everyone settle down, blah blah blah. And then they go to the testing room with the original, and they remember what happened and everything. And then they do the test. They don't have to cheat because they're all super smart. Then that's when Uncle comes in, and she tells them to all to meet her at the next place. Now after Logan, then we're talking, and that's when while Uncle was talking, and she got kind of upset, and she thought that she'll just like throw a kunai to like scratch them and stuff, and it hit Acnologia, and it kind of shattered basically. And Acnologia looks back, and he says, "Are you picking a fight?" And like he's running towards her at high speeds, and he's about to take off her head literally. But then that's when Naruto appears in front of him saying that's enough. And Acnology says, but Naruto says, leave it alone. And he turns around and looks at Anko and says, you're lucky I was here this time, or else you would have died. And Uncle is kind of mad. She doesn't like this team. She hopes they lose. And so that's when everyone gets their scrolls and everything like in the original. Naruto hasn't met Gaara yet, or anything like that. Yeah, they haven't met. The whole thing with the third Hokage's grandson, let's say Sasuke and them met Gaara. And so, that's when Naruto and get in the forest and says, we'll split up and we'll take the scrolls that we need. Freya, she goes after the team. She gets the scroll. Acnologia goes after the team and gets the scroll. But he had to go through multiple teams because the team he went after didn't have the scroll he was looking for. So there were just piles of bodies. With him walking away, finally, he's like, finally, I have the scroll that I needed. And he's walking away with just a pile of bodies. People hanging out of trees, people on the ground, and they're all hurt. Akron, he ran into some swordsmen, and he wanted to test his sword skills against them, and he eventually beat him and took the scroll that he needed. Naruto waited. He didn't go after anyone because he already had the original scroll, and they all reappeared with the scrolls. And Naruto was like, well, let's just head to the tower. And on their way to the tower, they see this guy that can control sand with Gaara. This is where they're gonna meet Gaara. And he's fighting against the ninjas, and he crushes them. It's Gaara, Tamari, and Kankuro. And then there's just some other random sand ninja with them. So yeah, they could choose to bring someone with them, or it can be a 3-man team. But yeah, it just depends on what they want. Let's just say they didn't bring anyone with them. It depends on what they want. Most people only just brought 3 people, some brought 4, or whatever. And then that's when Gaara says, this is going to be, he's his sand coffin, and he crushes them. Naruto then walking past Gaara. Gaara can sense Naruto's power, and he sends sand towards him. And Naruto just flicks it away. Acnologia says, if you want to fight me. Punching his hands together, and it sounded like metal, which kind of surprised a lot of people. And then Naruto says, Acnologia, that's enough, let's go. We have to get to the tower. And they just started back running. Well, they just disappeared and appeared at the tower. And yeah, everyone else makes it to the tower like in the original, blah blah blah. And then they tell them that this is the 3rd test, and then the last and final test will happen within 2 months. Unless, 2 months. So they can train and get new abilities. So it's Lee versus Gaara, like in the original, and then it's Akron versus some random ninja. Then it's all the teams that made it through the last one goes. Naruto then went against some random ninja. So yeah. And then, the 2 months of training. Now, I'm gonna get in depth with that. So, Naruto was rating up on Jinchuriki, and so was Freya. They were thinking about how Jinchuriki were strong, because they remember Minwa with his, the one tail that appeared going against Akron. And he was like, Jinchuriki is strong, but as I can read, there's only 9. And they all seem weak. From the one I feel in Minma and Mito, it's very weak. But apparently there's one that's also named the Ten Tails. Let's say they have forbidden text with them as well. And Naruto's thinking but there should be more. So they go exploring and they find out there's 2 more 10-tailed beasts. 11th and 12th tails. The 12th tails is destruction, and the 11th tails is creation. So, well, Acnologia and Acheron are with them. They are in another domain training on their dragon. Training with their dragon powers. Acheron's training with his sword and on his negative key. And he kind of is getting stronger and stronger with it. And has gained a demon dragon form. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. And Acnologia has also gained not a demon dragon form, his king of dragon form. It's something I came up with. The king of dragon's form, it combines his magic and destruction key together in all the different dragon slayer abilities and amplifies them to the max in his powers and everything. So yeah, they're training. And Freya and Naruto goes looking for the 11th and 12th tails. They're in their own separate universe. And they just Naruto and Freya just appears there. And they're wondering like who are these two mortals and what are they doing in our domain or whatever. And Naruto is like he does like a sarcastic bow and say, "My name is Naruto." No, he bows, saying, "I'm Naruto, and this is Freya, and you two will become your Jinchuriki." And they started laughing. They say, "We're not like that weak Kurama and the rest of those tail beasts. We're basically gods. Even the Sage Sixth Path couldn't do anything to us. What do you think you could do?" And Naruto smiles, and he flexes his destruction key, and he says, "I have no." Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. He flexes his destruction key. I'm sorry, guys. I'm back, but he flexes his destruction key, saying, "I'll make you then." And Freya, she lets off some key of her own creation, but the 11th Tails kind of likes Freya because she's like a calm and cooling person, and she kind of willingly goes with being her Jinchuriki, like kind of. But the 12th Tails is like, "I will not become anyone's Jinchuriki like my sister over there. I'm nowhere near like her. I'm more stronger, and I do not bow to anyone." And Naruto says, "Same for me." Hold on, guys. And he says, again, sorry, I'm back. But he says, "Neither do I." And 12 Tails let off a beast on Tail Beast Palm. And Naruto lets off a Kai, and they clash. And they're ripping apart the universe. And Freya says, Freya doesn't say anything. She keeps reading. And the 11th Tails is just standing behind her, like, it's just looking. And that's when Naruto and 12 Tails are duking it out, and obviously Naruto wins, and he's stepping on the 12 Tails saying, "You lost. You'll now be I'll now be your Jinchuriki. Now get in here." And he says, "I refuse." And Naruto says, "Stop refusing," and pulls his cheek and he says, "Fine, I lost." And he converts himself and goes into Naruto, being Naruto is now the Jinchuriki of the 12 Tail. And Freya is now the Jinchuriki of the 11 Tails. And Naruto says, "The stubborn bastard." And that's when the 12 Tail says, "I can hear you." And Naruto says, "Oh, my bad. I didn't mean for you to." And he says, "I know you're being sarcastic." And they're arguing on all the way on their way back. So yeah, and they get back, and so they're training, and now Naruto and the Totos kind of build a relationship, as you know. Yeah, but on the next 2 months, um, Naruto finds out that there's something called summonings, and he remember Jiraiya summoning a giant toad, and his father also has toad summoning contract, and he says, "Are those the only ones?" And the 12 tail says, "No, kid, there isn't." He says there are other summoning contracts, and the 11 tail says, "Do you want one, Miss Freya?" And Freya, she shrugs her shoulders and saying, "Sure, I guess." And he says, "I have an old friend that would probably love to be your summoning." And he opens the portal. Freya says, "I'll be back." And she walks through the portal. And Naruto says, "So, what summoning am I going to have? I'm going to have," and that's when he says, "Well, you just have to, um, wait for a few seconds." And he opens the portal and says, "Go through." And they go through, and just like this giant portal. And when they get there, there's just bones and lava everywhere. And Naruto is looking around saying, "So where's my summon?" He says, there he is, pointing at this 250 feet dragon. And he says, Naruto says, "Oh my god, a dragon." And he says, "What?" He says, "I have a friend that's a dragon." He says, "Well, this dragon is known as the King of Dragons." Naruto looks at him and lets off some destruction key, killing the dragon. He says, "Well, he's pathetic." And he says, "Well, you know the friend that my sister's taking your girlfriend to?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Let's go there." And he opens a portal there. And he get there and he sees um I'm about to say Alucard. What's that Pokemon from? Hold on, guys. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, sorry. Whew, I'm back. So he said he's opened the portal. They got there, and Arceus. Past all of that. Arceus. This is Mega Arceus, and Arceus standing over Freya, and they're talking. And Arceus, he nods and agrees to be Freya's summoner. Freya's summoning. And Freya, she likes Arceus, but Arceus, he can't stay in his own realm. Once he gets a summoner, he can't stay in his own realm. So he turns mini-sized, and he gets on Freya's shoulder. But then Arceus looks over, and he asks, "Who are they?" And Freya says, "That's my boyfriend, and the thing inside of him is the 12 tails." And he says, "I guess I know why they're there, because I can smell the stench of the Dragon King." And Naruto appears and says, in front of them, says, "That was no Dragon King. He was weak." He says, "I killed him. Now, what did you bring me here, 12 Tails?" And 12 Tails says, "Arceus, is your brother still locked in the mountains?" And Arceus says, "Yes, why?" And he says, "Free him." Arceus was confused. For one, he was confused with how the 11 and 12 tails became someone's uh, been sealed into humans and their Jinchurikis. And he says, "Fine," and he frees him. Arceus' brother comes out and he's looking around. And he says, "Where is Arceus?" It's shouting it. And he says, I'm going to destroy everything. And Naruto appears in front of him and says, I like you. And Arceus, his brother, can just feel the malice off of Naruto, like all of it. And he says, I like you as well. He says, what are you doing here though? Kid, Naruto says, I'm not a kid actually. I think I'm older than you. Or my self-consciousness is. Or better yet, my soul is. If you guys is wondering where Beerus and Goku Black are, they're gone. Yeah, they're gone. And that's when Argus, his brother, and Naruto starts talking. Sargas starts talking. And he agrees to be Naruto's summon. The reason he's not in like his mega form like Arceus is because it's too powerful. And that's when he says, I'm like my brother, I can't stay in this room once I become someone summoned. So he transformed into a mini version of himself like Arceus did and hops on Naruto's shoulder. And he says this should be better. And yeah, guys, that's why I'm gonna leave it off. Please like and subscribe, and peace out.